Those who spend their wealth in the aid, Quran 2-265. Those who spend their wealth in the aid of the poor and orphan arrayed. Their wealth becomes like gardens set in sun, and in light rains and wet. Both charity and gardens spring up with abundance. Everything becomes a joy beneath the rain of grace on wood and field and plain. A donkey's joy is to bear fruit to market, and see how in suit the food goes out, to feed the land, and keep from hunger human band. The miser who forgets to give, Quran 2-266, the miser who forgets to give, so poor, widow, and orphan live, makes his wealth like a garden. But whirlwind and the fire come in to destroy that garden of sin. And so God shows by sign and word how charity should be concurred. Beneath the palm a donkey stands with hoofs instead of feet and hands, and sadly sees the dates gone dry that could have fed the poor or try. It's wrong to give the poor a rate, Quran 2-267. It's wrong to give the poor a rate of what's inferior on plate, and something that you yourself would not use because it is not good. Even a donkey knows not to give the inferior in crew, but chooses the green and the sweet to provide all with treats to eat. The wicked one makes you despair, Quran 2-268. The wicked one makes you despair, and think that without miser's care you'll enter poverty, and find your children famished when they've dined. He tells you to behave and be a cad and acting wickedly, but God has promised to forgive and make you abundantly live. God cares for all, both human and the donkey toiling on the land, and he knows what all creatures need, and so provides the blade and seed. As simple as the words may be, Quran 2-269, as simple as the words may be in Revelation that we see, in Bible and Quran, and all the prophets' words on the earth's ball. It's only by a divine grace that anyone here in this place can understand the meanings and what Jehovah's message meant. All wisdom comes from Allah's hand, and none can understand command from him. But those who understand are blessed abundantly and grand. A donkey under grace can see the meaning of forbidden tree better than sons of Adam, who without divine wisdom try to. Those who spend of their means to make Quran 2-217. Those who spend of their means to make the poor and bereft in their wake more prosperous, or even for their own devotion's sake, the more spend in the love and light of God, who knows and aids all on the sod. But the wrong doers spend in vain, and have no helpers for their gain. In a bright eye and braying sound that gladdens heart of God and men, and makes them prosperous again. A man who gives in charity, Quran 2-271. A man who gives in charity and leaves that act for all to see. If his heart is not proud and great, he still gets his reward and plate. A man who gives it secretly and sees it go in 8 to be 271, with those who are in real need, has done a better act indeed. The open act will help the poor. The secret act will open door to cleansing of the soul of him who did the action in light dim. The acts of kindness and of grace that donkeys do around this place are hardly seen by human race, or noted before human face, but they no doubt will take the stain of imperfections that have lain, if any have, on donkey's soul, and bring him to the longed for goal. The human reader of this book may laugh at a donkey and look askance, but great Jehovah knows the hearts of men, and donkeys chose. The prophet does not set the folk, Quran 2-272. The prophet does not set the folk in the right path of which God spoke, but God himself with his right hand will choose and guide the righteous band. What good folk do will benefit their own souls, but they will find it as they seek of the face of God wherever on the earth they plod. The good men give, and women too will be returned to them in view, and multiplied beyond belief, when they pass from this time of grief. And what good donkeys have been led by God to do for men, instead will be returned in double share upon themselves with loving care. That's why in paradise the ass will be more wealthy, pass for pass, than humankind, since they do here a lot more good deeds. to appear than human beings miserly and slow to commit charity. May God bless all, both bird and beast, as well as humankind the least. How can a man know who's in need? Quran 2-273. How can a man know who's in need among the many, who in greed are clamoring about the gate of synagogue and mosque? Not late. It's easy to see. They are those who cannot travel to find rows of work or merchandise to sell. They simply try to gain a spell. The ignorant think they are not in need, because they do not plot and cry for alms and gifts of men, but silently suffer again. What you give modest men and poor is an investment that is sure, for you may know God sees and must reward you for what you entrust. Those who give charity by day, Quran 2-274. Those who give charity by day or secretly by night will stay in the grace of their Lord, and find no fear or grief behind. A donkey, by contrast, may well have fear and grief behind, to smell as men drive donkeys with a whip. Drat all such men who take a grip. The banker and investor 2 Quran 2-275. The banker and investor too today, as well as public crew, think that the interest that they take is just the same as trade at stake. But God forbids the interest, and he does allow the trade to stand. So punishment follows in due on interest in the human view. Brisk trade makes peace among the folk, and commerce is a lovely stroke for happiness to man and beast, and for prosperity increased. But interest only adds despair and poverty instead of wear. It ends in war and begins grief. Interest is action of a thief. That's why the world today stands on the brink of a disaster drawn. The angels hold back on the strife that would ensue on man and wife. At any moment, men could bring peace to a world of hoof and wing as well as humankind, in brief, and bring all creatures out of grief by simply engaging in trade and dropping all the interest paid. But hearts of men are set in greed, and so they fail now to take heed. It may seem reasonable to Quran 2-276. It may seem reasonable to take usury and interest too and limit charity a bit. But that just shows limited wit. For God above deprives the take of interest for the widow's sake, and removes profit from the store of usury upon the poor. But God makes charity increase in blessing on the wealth of peace, and God loves creatures who remain among the grateful in his train, and not among the wicked band that causes mischief in the land. That's why God loves the poor jackass, and hates the human sort of gas. A donkey has God's blessing here. Quran 2-277. A donkey has God's blessing here, merely for how he may appear with swishing tail and twitching ear in morning light. But men who by nature are dumb and fast to take dishonest sum must struggle just to hem and hum, and get it right. If one of them by divine grace does righteous deed before God's face with prayer and alms in every case, it is a sight. But such a man or woman that does so is rare, I say, out flat, but they receive a reward fat with all God's might. They shall not fear, they shall not grieve, but only have grace to believe in goodness of donkey's reprieve and God's delight. The man and woman who believe Quran 2-278. The man and woman who believe should give up the demand to thieve by usury and interest on their wealth, upon which loan is drawn. A donkey does not take a bit of interest on what he does fit. So why should a man think that he is better than donkey's degree, deserving to take by his power what is another's own in shower of the abundance God has set on sunny field as well as wet? The choice is that of humankind, Quran 2-279. The choice is that of humankind, and not of donkeys on the bind. They can choose interest and war with usury held up in store, or they can choose peace and increase by a brisk trade. They can choose justice and more wealth to enhance their life and their health, or they can choose destruction by bombs of despair beneath a sky of interest and of usury. Foreclosure is the devil's way. Quran 2 to 280 foreclosure is the devil's way of making debtors pay and pay. Extended time of grace is best, or even to remit the rest of the debt, in charity's name. How many banks to sow for shame? It's failure of wisdom's insight. It's because of darkness like night upon the brain of humankind that makes both men and women blind to the reality of earth, and what is good and what is worth. One reason that noble Quran 2:28, 1 to 282. One reason that noble Quran was sent to humankind withdrawn was because the rabbis had taught that usury was something wrought with justice on another folk. The rule of no interest bespoke only to brother Jews. But all the rest of humankind could fall. This had made a society of war and injustice, in spree and hate for Jewish people too. The Quran should correct that view and show that justice is for all of humankind like beast in stall and bird, and every creature here, justice for all, freedom from fear. It seems, though, only a jackass can understand that the green grass should be the part of all or none without monopolies undone, but even trade and property must be safeguarded in degree, and contracts signed and witnessed to so every man may get his due. Sometimes there is no bank or safe Quran 2 to 283. Sometimes there is no bank or safe nearby, especially for the waif who's traveling, and so he must trust even a stranger if he must. When there's no safeguard for the wealth a man leaves in trust, then in stealth let no one take advantage of his situation in the shove and steal his own or hide the rate of evidence of his wealth's state. Bring in a donkey, if need be, to witness the dishonesty. At least on day of judgment he would bray and write testimony, and what's concealed God will reveal to every eye and every heel. Gods are the cattle on the hills, Quran 2 to 284. Gods are the cattle on the hills, all things in field and wood and rills, beneath the sky and cloud or blue. All things belong to him in crew. What men may show, what they reveal, what's in their mind that they conceal, God calls it all to an account by the law given on the mount. He may forgive as he may please, he may punish men in his ease, for he is sovereign over all, both men and creatures in the stall. God gives men the choice and they fail. God gives the Azez who may wail and bray at dawn more grace than men. So I'm a grateful ass again. Prophets and men of faith believe Quran 2 to 285. Prophets and men of faith believe in revelation and receive knowledge of God, angels, and books, and God's messengers in their nooks. No difference does any make between the prophets for their stake, nor yet between their books, but they are equally revealed to stay. Such men of faith and women to hear and obey in what they do, and find forgiveness with their Lord who is the end of all adored. The journey of humankind here to the face of God to appear is made by faith and on the back of a donkey and books in stack. When they come to the throne of God, each donkey running under prod will stop and bray in joy to see the brightness of the deity and lift his voice to cover well the shouts of joy that humans swell and so hide from God all the shame of human speech by donkeys' fame. So shall begin the paradise of donkeys and of humans nice. Through days eternal as they pass the donkeys shall cover men's ass. A jackass here before the day, Quran 2 to 286. A jackass here before the day of judgment. I come here to pray for both myself and humankind for the blessings that you've outlined, O great Jehovah, and so hear a jackass praying in your ear. Give not to me, give not to men or women, either in their den, a burden too heavy to bear, but let each one of us here share the burdens of each other, and so come to no grief in the land. And finally, I pray that you, great Allah, and our great God true, will forgive humankind their sin, for they don't know what they are in. Give them the grace to see the way and follow it. This I do, Bray, relying on your mercy to both jackass and the human crew. I have replaced the surah now. I have replaced the surah now named for the heifer, or a cow, and given rather donkey's word. And how a donkey's heart is stirred. It shows perversity of man that heifer was given by plan instead of donkey for the name of this chapter. Longest in claim, since donkey is mentioned there, too, and not just a cow, in the view of people who took colours best from the cow instead of the rest. May Allah grant a donkey's wish, that he may have a well-filled dish and easy load until the day of judgment dawn for each one's pay. Give every man his own deserts and strike, each one down for the hurts each perpetrates on donkeys here, on back and tail and mane and ear. Give every donkey in this place a spot in paradise and grace, his rest after the task he's done for humankind under the sun